In Assassin's Creed Origins, we cross paths with the legendary pharaoh Cleopatra. Her place in modern-day pop culture tells us she was beautiful, strategic, and had a strong power over men. But who was she really? How did she rise to power over all of Egypt, and what events led to her tragic death? To find all these answers, we have to go back over 2,000 years to the end of the Egyptian Empire. My name is Matt Black. Join me as we discover the truth of the last pharaoh of Egypt. This is the true history of Cleopatra. After Caesar's assassination in 44 BC and following the alleged poisoning of Ptolemy XIV, Cleopatra was quick to consolidate her power over Egypt by making her 3-year-old son Caesarion her co-ruler. With no one to challenge her power except her exiled sister Arsinoe IV, Cleopatra had become the sole pharaoh of Egypt. However, Egypt was in a poor state. The Nile continued to be unreliable in its flooding, resulting in failing crops, which led to inflation, hunger, and disease. During this time, Rome was in the grips of a civil war following Caesar's death between the Second Triumvirate, an alliance consisting of Octavian, Mark Antony, and Lepidus as they fought against the forces of Caesar's assassins, Marcus Brutus and Cassius. Both sides requested assistance from Cleopatra, and in light of her relationship with Caesar, sent 4 Roman legions that were stationed in Egypt to assist the Triumvirate, and in 42 BC, the forces of Brutus and Cassius were defeated. The power in Rome was then split between Octavian and Mark Antony, creating a power struggle that would ultimately lead to the end of Cleopatra. In 41 BC, Mark Antony summoned Cleopatra to the Sicilian city of Tarsus to answer questions about her loyalty during the Roman Civil War. Cleopatra allegedly had given a lot of money to Cassius. Cleopatra arrived at Tarsus in a grand state, seduced Antony with her charms, and convinced him to align with her to protect Egypt and her crown. In order to completely secure her power in Egypt, Cleopatra had Antony order the death of her sister Arsinoe IV, who was an exile in the Roman-controlled city of Ephesus. Antony did as Cleopatra asked, and Arsinoe IV was executed on the steps of the temple. When Cleopatra returned to Egypt, Antony followed, leaving behind his wife and children, spending the winter of 41 to 40 BC with Cleopatra. This act, along with the execution of Arsinoe IV, which violated the temple sanctuary, caused a scandal in Rome and started to weaken the relationship between Octavian and Antony. After Antony returned to Rome in 40 BC, Cleopatra gave birth to twins named Alexander Helios and Cleopatra Selene II. In the 4 years that followed, Egypt prospered under Cleopatra's rule, becoming strong and wealthy. That's when Antony returned to Alexandria, seeking funds for his war against the Parthians. In exchange, Antony agreed to return much of what was part of Egypt's Eastern Empire. It was at this point that Cleopatra and Mark Antony once more became lovers. And in 36 BC, Cleopatra gave birth to another son, whom she named Ptolemy Philadelphos. From this point on, Alexandria became Antony's home. In 34 BC, Antony declared Cleopatra and Caesarion as the rulers of Egypt and Cyprus. Cleopatra was declared Queen of Kings and Caesarion as the son of Caesar and rightful heir instead of Octavian. Antony also awarded land to each of his children he had with Cleopatra. This event is known as the Donations of Alexandria. After many years of deterioration, the Donations of Alexandria finally broke the relationship between Antony and Octavian. Octavian then convinced the Roman council that Antony was completely under Cleopatra's control. The council then proceeded to strip Antony of all his titles, and in late 32 BC, Octavian declared war against Cleopatra and Egypt. On September 2nd, 31 BC, the forces of Cleopatra and Antony joined to face Octavian's Roman fleet off the coast of Actium. Even combined, they were no match for the full force of the Roman fleet. At the height of the naval battle, Cleopatra and her ships deserted the fight and fell back to Egypt. Antony then ordered the retreat and followed with the few ships that remained. Following Octavian's victory at the Battle of Actium, he proceeded with his assault and invaded Egypt. As Octavian and his forces arrived in Alexandria, Antony's soldiers deserted him and joined with Octavian's fleet. With Alexandria under attack by overwhelming forces, Cleopatra locked herself away, and Antony, hearing a rumor of her death, fell on his sword and died. Octavian succeeded in capturing Alexandria and Cleopatra, whom he wanted alive. However, Octavian killed her son Caesarion, ending his claim as Caesar's heir. On August 12, 30 BC, after burying Mark Antony, Cleopatra locked herself in her chambers and is believed to have committed suicide. Although the details surrounding Cleopatra's death are uncertain, popular belief is she died from the bite of a poisonous snake known as an asp. With the deaths of Cleopatra, Antony, and Caesarion, Octavian's conquest of Egypt was complete. Egypt was annexed into the Roman Republic, and Octavian was free to consolidate his power in Rome. Unchallenged, Octavian became Emperor Caesar Augustus with the reorganization of the Republic into the Roman Empire. Cleopatra spent her life consolidating her power in Egypt. Whether it was her battle for the throne against her brother Ptolemy XIII, her romance with Caesar, or her relationship with Mark Antony, Cleopatra was driven to secure more power. But it was Cleopatra's ambition for more that ultimately led to her death, the fall of Egypt, and the rise of a new empire. Cleopatra's tragic death not only marked the end of the Ptolemaic dynasty, but also the end of Egypt's pharaohs. Thank you for joining me as we journey through the life of the last pharaoh of Egypt. My name is Matt Black, and this has been the True History of Cleopatra. What's up, guys? Thank you for watching this video. If you like this video, hit that like button, and if you're new, go ahead and subscribe. Now, if you have any friends who are fans of Assassin's Creed, go ahead and share this video with them, would ya? Because all fans of Assassin's Creed belong here. I have some great new content on the way just for you. Until next video, Matt Black.